Welcome on the news. Let's start with our legislative body, where the minority is demanding accountability on the operations of Frontier's healthcare services following a review of the COVID-19 restrictions by government. President Akufo-Addo, in an address Sunday evening, announced that fully vaccinated travelers into Ghana will no longer need a PCR test to allow them entry into the country through the Kotoka International Airport, and will also not be tested on arrival. Now, while welcoming this decision, Ranking Member on the Health Committee of Parliament, Kwabena Mensah-Kando, tells JoyNews it is now time for government to fully render accounts on how much exactly has been generated through the operations of Frontier's healthcare services.
Yes, I understand the President to be saying that the testing at the Kotoka International Airport, the antigen test, has been scrapped or, suspended. But there are few clarifications that must be made. Yes, I agree that anybody entering Ghana or leaving Ghana must be vaccinated. And so if you're not vaccinated, you should be tested. But I don't think it should be Frontier Healthcare. In any case, they don't do PCR tests. It's antigen tests they were doing. And so if there's going to be any test at all, I think that it shouldn't be Frontier Healthcare. And the reason is simple, that they have duped the country enough. Because there's nowhere in the world that antigen tests cost $150 or $50. There's no way in the world. It is too exorbitant. And so that is one. The second point has to do with the accountability. How much have they made since their operation? How much is going to government? We need to know. We need to know. To scrutiny.
Very well, but when you say that the testing at the airport shouldn't be done by Frontiers, you're essentially saying that we should send them packing because that is why they set up. And the President indicated that they did that at their own cost. So if we send them out of the place, who should and at what cost?
When I heard the President trying to defend the Frontier Healthcare, I was so sad, and it was rather unfortunate to say the least. I heard the President say that they built the infrastructure there themselves at their own cost and all what have you. Yes, those mobile equipment, simple equipment that is used in testing the COVID or doing the antigen test, yes, they brought them. But the infrastructure was already there. If you go to the Kotoka International Airport, if you have ever gone to them before, they are in a structure that is part of the Terminal 3, solely partitioning that they have done. So they haven't built anything at the Kotoka International Airport. And if you care to know, they've made millions of dollars. And that is where we need to know how much is coming to the state and how much they've made. We can easily know, because I've told you, the reagents or the materials the materials we use in testing COVID-19, the antigen test, doesn't cost more than $2 in any part of the world.
Well, there is relief for residents and persons doing business at the country's land borders as those entry points are reopened nearly 2 years after they were shut to deal with the spread of COVID-19. At the Aflao border, residents have been recounting the difficulties they faced since the closure. But at Elubo, the people want government to facilitate access to loans to revive their business. Samuel Kojo-Brace reports.
Ghanaians, especially traders along Ghana's border towns, have hailed the president's decision to open the country's land borders. They say this will make life easier and meaningful to them, recounting how difficult it has been for their businesses for the past 2 years when the borders were closed due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Some Ghanaians who spoke with JoyNews said they are sure that businesses will improve by the day and life will be easier for them once the borders have been reopened.
Most of our customers are from Cote d'Ivoire, and then the closure of the border had many effects on our business. There are some staffs that has even expired. Because since the closure of the border, it's been 2 years. And then there will be some staffs that no one will buy it. When the border was not closed, you go to Accra and then take staffs. It won't take 2 or 3 days or maybe a week, and then it will finish. You see, then you go back and then, buy some stuff again and then replace it. The closure of the border affected everything.
About 2 years ago, Nana be a two border no Yoshi, no baby, I say. Inti say na we be no. Yeah, shouldn't him to say Obabuana could devour for so your money because any could devour for ya na a dilly. Say na what we be a dear no, you shouldn't him to say, O baby, you could devour for the answer the way I bet to me a Diana come.
We have been waiting for this for a very long time. So what we've been waiting for has come to pass. This is what I will say. And I am strongly believing that because of the 2 years exodus that we had, the change will be gradually. So on the first point, we appreciate the president and every other machinery that has made this impossible for us, that they've opened the land borders for us. Our business will move on. The reopening is going to have a positive impact on our transport business. But what's the transport? Yes, the road transport now is the one serious mode or one mode that the whole nation use more than any other thing. It's going to facilitate trade because goods moving from the port here to the inner land and then to across the country on transit, they are all going to pass through the land border, and the movement of the people without resistance will help us to be in good business. So it's going to have a very great.
In Elubo, however, one trader, who is also a queen mother, had a special appeal for the president.
Yeah, 2 than 2 years in it. And yeah, green, you may not say, basa. Loans are ya kochi aya the year drama. Niema ya free ya ton. Nina ya basa. A higher border town, Magana and Cote d'Ivoire. And to Cote d'Ivoire for a bay or mobile little better idea. And to your 2 border and Musa, my young much 3 years. Yenima says, say. But make us so more because what you no and as walk of any mana banesano or Hakasi and a better so intermediate there be a mechanic ye be about than maniachi but yenima says any loan kaya de your best paying for best anado your president or mumre libume who a bang for no I di or mokano.
Well, now the Ghana Maritime Authority, the Ghana Navy and the port of Takoradi are worried that despite numerous campaigns, fishermen continue to engage in illegal, unregulated and unreported activities. The 3 organizations say these activities in the country's waters are not only depleting our fish stock, but also affecting the country's image among the international seafarers community. They want greater collaborations with fisherfolk along the coastal districts of the Western region to help fight illegal activities in the country's territorial waters.
According to the Ghana Maritime Authority, the Ghana Navy and port of Takoradi, activities such as light fishing, patrolling, and in recent times high speeds of illegal oil bunkering is affecting fish stocks and security along the coastal communities. They are deeply concerned over recent reported cases of foreigners who have invaded coastal communities and now involved in illicit oil trading and smuggling on the high seas. At a stakeholders meeting at the Western Naval Command in Sekondi in the Western region with Chief Fisherman, head of the Takoradi branch of the Ghana Maritime Authority, Captain Clifford Kojo Ejako Osei, observed that consequences of the continuous practice of IUUs is unimaginably, considering that for many fishers, fishing is their only source of livelihood.
All these things that happen at the high seas, we are talking about IU, whatever, they start from the shores. So, starting from the shores, primarily, the ordinary fisherman may come in contact with these people. But if they see and then they just keep a blind eye to it, the people will continue whatever they are doing. So if they are sensitized or aware that these kind of things they should be watching for, and then bring to the attention of their chiefs or to the security agencies, then we are halfway through, because they will not jump from anywhere to the high seas. They will start from the shore. So if we get information from the shore timely that some kind of activity is going on, The security agencies are ever ready to strike and intercept so that we will not have these serious situations occurring at the high seas.
Flag officer commanding the Western Naval Command, Commodore Samuel Walker, appealed for greater collaboration to help stem the illegal practices.
We have started this battle against illegal operations out there at sea, but we have now intensified it. It was started long ago. It was part of the mandate of the Navy, but now we have now intensified it. We have educated them that they should never take the law into their own hands. We have the Marine Police around. I'm sure you observed that they are rep from Marine Police around, from GMA, from GPHA, and of course the Navy. We have been mandated to ensure that the operations out there, the safety and the security of the operations out there, we are to ensure that things are done properly. So of course, we are going to rely on these fishermen to provide us with the necessary information so that we'll be able to execute our mandate for they themselves to benefit from their operations.
In an open forum, the chief fisherman lamented how persons they report to have engaged in an illegal fishing activities are left off the hook without any proper prosecution. For JoyNews, in Athalia Kwanza, Western Region.
Now, some irate residents of Peve Tonu in the Afajato South District of the Volta region are protesting the development of a recreational center in their area. According to the youth, the proposed construction of a defense wall along the Volta Lake would have a dire consequence on their livelihoods as fisherfolk and traders. But the developer of JSK City says he has no intention of robbing the natives of their livelihoods. Fred Kwame Asari reports.
Some irate residents of Peveton thronged the streets to register their displeasure on the proposed construction of a defense wall along the Volta Lake by a private developer. According to them, the market center, London Beach and lorry stations would be affected by the project. These, they believe, would affect trading activities and deny them of their livelihoods. Our concern is that when the defense wall is built, the parts of the community located downstream would seriously be affected during perennial flooding. Secondly, it will make it difficult for our women and children to fetch water from the lake. The market center, where we trade and get income to support our families and education of our children, has been destroyed. The trees that provided shade for the market center have been uprooted. Some of our farm produce were also destroyed. The EPA has informed us that no developments will take place along the London beach of the lake because of a land dispute. We are pleading with the authorities to step in, or we will seize the Peve water station and prevent it from supplying water to other parts of the region.
Fia yeti jocho afi vota kata nunu kakanya ba omo doro ka chunjola echi ha ro he ga kwaga nunu go ala bana mi ho fa kola kachi ha mi sinzenu.
They suggested that he limits the defense project about 100 meters from his facility to ensure the safety of community folks. However, the developer of JSK City, the first ever water tourism facility along the Upper Volta, is unperturbed about the development. The Togolese company showed all requisite land documents to the press in camera, detailing that it has no bad intention for the community but aims to use water tourism to harness development in the area. The Southern Divisional Police Command mediated between the two sides and ensured peace prevailed after a verbal agreement. Fred Kwame Asari, Joy News, Beverton.
Welcome on the News Review segment. As we dig into the papers, we're joined by media consultant Liz Hayfron Asari. She is our guest. Madam Hayfron Asari, a very good morning to you. It's Tuesday again. Here we are. Hope you're well.
Good morning. Great to be with you this morning.
It's a pleasure. Hope you're well.
I'm fine. A little tired because I did a little traveling over the weekend, but I'll get over it.
Well, yeah, it'll come eventually. As for the tiredness, we're all in it. We all face it every day. But here we are doing what we do best. Let's quickly get into the Daily Graphic newspaper, and I'll be running by you some of the latest we heard from the president in his 28th COVID-19 address. The Daily Graphic says, life picking up at borders, Aflao Elubo Paga traders excited different parts of the country, and life is gradually picking up at the country's land borders following their reopening yesterday. Now, in anticipation of the frontiers becoming buoyant, the Ghana Immigration Service has deployed its personnel to the borders. At the Aflao border in particular, where we were told about 400 officers have been deployed, business activities were at a slow pace. So that is the latest. The land borders have been reopened. Liz, what is your reaction to this? It's been about 2 years, and some of them say their businesses have virtually, or better still, literally collapsed. What does it mean to you now that we are reopening our land borders?
I think it's a good sign. Like you said, 2 years is a very long time to have your land borders closed, especially when you look at the ECOWAS protocols, and it talks about free movement of peoples across our borders. And then we close ours for 2 years, knowing that a lot of our traders use the borders. I mean, Burkina Faso, we go to Nigeria to bring in stuff, Cote d'Ivoire, and there's a lot of brisk trading on the borders. So when you close the borders, then it means that the people who live in that area, who are engaged in trade or one or another kind of business, have no business and are sitting and just waiting. For 2 years is a long time. It can send you from no matter how much you had in your account to zero, because then you're doing absolutely nothing. Again, when our borders were closed for that long, did we think about the people on the borders? What other lucrative business could they have entered? Who is supposed to take care of that? If you're talking about industry, are we trading amongst ourselves as a people? So 2 years having the borders closed is a very long time. And I feel sorry for those who live on the borders, because I shudder to think what they have been through.
Do you think for a period this was self-inflicted? Other countries have relaxed their measures. I mean, it's been a while since some countries relaxed their measures and activated or reactivated their borders and all of that. Have we kept too long, do you think?
I don't know. I think that we have kept too long. Yes, 2 years is a very long time. I think that we should have put in measures to mitigate whatever problems we would suffer at the borders. We should have been very proactive and found ways of ensuring that those who were coming in were tested at the borders. I mean, if you want to make sure that your country is safe from COVID, what measures are you putting in? We should have put in measures so that people who were using the borders could also have been tested or vaccinated, or made sure that whoever was coming in was COVID-free. We could have done all kinds of things rather than close our borders for 2 years. I believe 2 years was too long.
Well, anyway, that is it for the land borders. And at least the traders are excited. Better late than never, we say. In other stories in the Daily Graphic, bid for Apiate redesign begins. That story on page 16. But one that I believe will intrigue you on page 34. GJA Press Center to be redeveloped. MOU signed. And the Ghana Journalists Association, the National Media Commission, and the Right to Information Commission have committed to redevelop the International Press Center in an ultra-modern office to accommodate all media-related entities and umbrella bodies in the country. The commitment was made during the signing of a memorandum of understanding at the premises of the Ministry of Information yesterday. How does this strike you? How excited are you by such development? It's been said that what we have now is not exactly fit for purpose. Let me just leave it at that. Excited?
No.
You're not?
No.
Why not? Why not?
I'm not excited about GJ because I felt that GJ would have grown bigger than it is today. GJ kind of slowed in its movement of things. GJ could have been more proactive. As for the development to house other entities that work with GJ, yes, I mean, it's long overdue. But I was of the view that GJ was going to develop the press center beyond just the conference rooms. We were supposed to have hostels or a hotel for journalists who were coming in to cover assignments. We're supposed to have all kinds of things. You should have been ultra-modern before now. So it's not exciting for me. I think that we have just been too slow in getting our act together.
Well, that's an interesting perspective. And when you say you expect the GJA to have grown beyond what it has become now, how exactly would you have expected it to have grown? In which specific aspects, briefly?
If you look at the media landscape today,
right?
When we went into media pluralism, we had a lot of stations that were open, and you realized that the people who were put in behind the mic did not have that requisite training. It should have been easy for GJA to say, okay, we have courses for members of GJA, we have courses for journalists on a whole. So we would work with the media institutions, make sure that everybody is properly trained and that we are delivering as our mandate as journalists will allow us to. We did not do that. We just left it, and even though we have the institutions, not everybody is going into the institutions. Not everybody can afford to go into the institutions, but you have a lot of people who are working on the job. So how do you get the people who are working on the job and learning from their job up to scratch? How do you match them with those who are coming out of school? How do you ensure that we are being very professional in the work that we're doing, not only as journalists on the job, but making sure that we go out and do what we have to do and do it properly. I think that GJ had a very big role to play, just as I think that the NMC also had a role to play. But some refresher courses were had in the past. I haven't heard about many lately. I don't know how journalists upgrade their skills when they start working and all like that. And I thought that GJ would be in the forefront of pushing and ensuring that we had proper people on the ground who were working.
So have they failed in that regard? The GJA, the NMC, and others, have they failed in that respect?
To a large extent, because we end up having a lot of sensationalism. And if you look at the media landscape, now our targets or the population is moved by what certain media houses say. And if they're saying it's just because they want to say it, or because they're being sensational, or because they want to be seen to be in the media space, what good has it done us?
Interesting perspectives there. Let's go on the international front and come back to Ghana briefly. This story on page 5 says, Zimbabwean opposition wins majority seats in by-elections. You know why I'm reading this, right? Zimbabwean opposition wins majority seats in by-elections. If our story is anything to go by, then this is going to be another interesting twist in their legislative body. But the final bit I'll do from the Daily Graphic. Single spine policy review in offing. And it's to undergo a review, surgical or otherwise, to address salary inequalities, weak salary administration, and management of conditions of service 14 years after its implementation. This has come to the fore. This is one of the problems that we have had. We have policies for so long, they are never reviewed, or at least the review is never really efficient or surgical enough, and we wait till there are many glaring problems. What are your problems, Liz, with the single spine salary structure, as you've seen it and as you've known it?
You don't get the kind of employees that you want. I mean, those who are very good would not take single spine. Right. I mean, because they'll earn more in the private sector than they earn in the public sector. The single spine was kind of like to rectify that, so you have very good people in the public sector, in the private sector, and earning about the same. Unfortunately, it did not work out like that. So you struggle to employ people in the public sector because they come in, they would use it as a stepping stone to gain some experience and then go into private practice where they will earn more. So it should have been done long ago. We should have reviewed the policy long ago. So we get people who are competent in the public sector, who would stay in the public sector and work, knowing that the remuneration they will get at the end could compare to anybody in the private sector. And if we don't do that, then our public institutions will always be lacking. You'd always have to get people on contract and pay them more, because those that you have employed probably are not up to scratch when it comes to doing certain jobs. So we need to make sure that the public sector is up and running. And if you can't employ qualified people, competent people, then you have a problem.
You do have a problem. That also means that the localized brain drain will continue as far as the public and private sectors are concerned. And you're completely right. The private sector will continue because of its economic pull to get the best of them, and the rest would end up in the public sector, maybe to nobody's benefit, not to the benefit of society. Nose mask patronage drops drastically as public response to ease of COVID-19 protocols. We've moved to the Ghanaian Times newspaper now. And this is something that we've also been exploring right here at the Multimedia Group. Nose mask patronage dropping drastically. In fact, it's interesting because we hear some of these people even went for loans in recent times to order face masks and all of that, because it's been a long, protracted process where we've all been wearing masks and preventing COVID-19. And then boom, we don't even have to wear or don masks anymore. At least it's not mandatory. It doesn't mean you shouldn't use them at all. Use them for your own safety. In fact, I feel, honestly, Liz, that when Mr. President delivered his address, I feel that portion could have been left out. This is just me. I'm not a member of the President's communications team, but I felt we could have left out the bit about it's no longer mandatory, because I feel it just creates the picture where people are going to be, if we were at 5 out of 100, is now going to go perhaps into negative territory. I feel we could have just left that so that people don't consciously feel, oh, let's get rid of it. Those who will don it anyway. I don't know what you think, but it's going to affect sales on the market. And from what we hear, a lot of people are not going to be, have any feeling geared towards using it, unless we maybe have another surge of COVID-19.
But I thought that people had stopped using face masks long ago. I mean, in certain places, it was mandatory for you to put on a mask before you enter certain shops or certain offices. But seriously, if you step out of Accra, you realize that people were not using their face even as far back as 2021. A few funerals in Cape Coast, Elmina, Takoradi, and you come from Accra and you don your mask and you're like an alien, and everybody tends to look at you. They know you're from out of town because they were not bothered about using it the way we did in Accra. As for announcing that it shouldn't be used. I mean, it's neither here nor there. Like you said, those who want to wear it will still wear it. It's not mandatory. As for those who are going to lose money as a result, I believe that when you go into business, there are certain risks that you take. So you really have to mitigate. What will they do? I don't know what they will do, but I'm sorry for them, but unfortunately, that is where we have gotten to now. As to whether it should have been announced, I think that it should have been announced, and it has been announced, so that a lot of people would be liberal when people are entering their offices or entering certain places without mask. But let us not forget that there is a caveat. You must be fully vaccinated.
Right.
So if you're not vaccinated, then you have to be wearing a mask, even though it has been said that it's not mandatory. If you are not fully vaccinated, then you don't go causing problems for those who have been fully vaccinated. So we need to take our lives into our own hands. We need to ensure that if you're going into a certain space, what are you going to do to ensure that people who are coming in are those who are vaccinated? Are we going to be inspecting cards or things like that? So that if you don't have a card, you don't enter a certain space. So you are not posing a risk to those who have been vaccinated and those who are keeping to the law and abiding by the law. So we need to make sure that even though it has been said that it's not mandatory, we are supposed to be vaccinated. So everybody should get vaccinated so we are all safe.
Well, that ties into the story on page 18. In fact, is the banner headline for the Ghanaian Times newspaper. COVID-19 update. Unvaccinated persons pose danger to society. That's according to the GMA. So just succinctly, the GMA has welcomed the ease of restrictions as announced by the government on Sunday, cautioning, however, that unvaccinated persons still posed a risk. And that is, I mean, just the first paragraph basically puts everything into proper perspective. And we know we still have millions of people who have not been vaccinated. Mr. President in the address also mentioned that hopefully by June, we would, we would have vaccinated the 20+ million that we're expecting. So hopefully we get there. But in the interim, when we've not achieved what some scientists dispute, herd immunity, some are for it, some say this thing doesn't even exist, I guess we would have to still be careful as we go into these mass gatherings, whether they are rallies or at entertainment, venues or whatever, to ensure that we are protecting ourselves. But this final one from the Ghanaian Times. Go ahead.
We need to be very careful, especially because some people who have been vaccinated are still getting COVID after they've been vaccinated. So we just shouldn't take it at face value and think that everything is fine. Like the GMA is saying that unvaccinated people pose a threat to even those who have been vaccinated. So we all need to be very careful. We need to stay safe.
RTI fines Kolebu Teaching Hospital 30,000 Ghana cedis for failure to give information upon request. Why this excites me, a lot of our public institutions, when you want information, they say right to information, law and all of that. But trust me, it's easier said than done. Easier said than followed through when it comes to the processes involved. We've heard from the information minister who says, let's see more. But when you push, there's a pushback. And we've seen it here at the Multimedia Group, and others have seen it too that we know of. So, and it comes with all of these charges as well, some of them simply outrageous. What's your take on that? Now that some of them are getting fines and all of that, will this make getting information easier, do you think?
It should. It should make getting information easier. You realize that in the past, the public institutions have held on to information as if the information belongs to them. We want them to understand that information belongs to the people and not to the institutions. The information you have is created with taxpayers' money. The taxpayers need to know what is happening with their money. So we need to be as transparent as possible in all our public institutions. Except for the exempt laws, I think that information if the institutions want to be open and proactive, the information that they have, they should just put it out there. And if you put the information out there, it becomes very easy. But everybody thinks that they have one thing to hold on, and that is information. But if you're keeping the information, how do the public know how the institution is running, how the institution is doing? If you need the information to make yourself a better person, to make informed choices, and the information is being held from you, how do you contribute meaningfully to the development of the nation if you don't have the information that you need that will help you make those informed choices? Again, for those in academia who do all kinds of surveys and all kinds of research, information should be made available to them. You go to do your thesis and you go to a public institution and you are frustrated because nobody wants to give the information, but the information does not belong to them. And they should begin to understand that. They should begin to understand that they need to be open and transparent. And that is what everybody is pushing for. They need to be accountable to the people who are paying for the information they are generating.
Right. The story caught my attention. Just to wrap. ECG transformer at Dunyo are stolen, and thieves have vandalized and stolen parts of a newly installed transformer of the Electricity Company of Ghana that serves residents of Dunyo, a suburb of Ganwest municipality of the Greater Accra region. Just this morning, I caught wind of a story where someone was robbed yesterday. And it appears nowadays things are just getting out of hand. I know these things have always happened, but how rampant they are. It appears, I don't know whether it's on the back of the economic times or whatever, but people are becoming more and more bold and doing things that ordinarily you wouldn't hear of. Just in a bit, I don't know whether to keep body and soul together. I really do not know.
It's frightening at the rate that robbery is happening, and now even in broad daylight. And it's even more frightening when it is an armed robbery, when people are shooting people in broad daylight and others are helpless, can't do anything about it. And I think that much as the police have upped their game, they still have a lot to do.
Right.
I don't know who is taking cognizance of the number of arms that we have in this country, and how come everybody seems to be having arms and moving around. But again, we should be each other's keeper, and we need to rally together. In the past, you had some vigilante groups. Unfortunately, some vigilante groups were traumatized by police shooting some of their members and things like that. You don't hear about those groups anymore because it became mixed up, politics and everything mixed it up. So those who were protecting their territory, as in like having a group to patrol their residential areas, don't have that anymore.
Right.
So the police need to be patrolling. The police need to be up and doing. We need to have and see a police presence.
Right.
And if possible, I keep saying that we have become a people who no longer fear the police. We are not supposed to fear the police. We are supposed to work with them.
Right.
They are law enforcement. They are supposed to be protecting us. But over the years, we've seen them with the military do some patrol and duties. And that staved and scared people from taking the law into their own hands and robbing and doing all kinds of things. But I think that, again, the economic situation is what is upping what we are seeing. And unemployment frustrates people. And if they need money to live and they think that they can get it out of illegal means, they resort to all kinds of things. So we also need to be working on ensuring that the youth is employed and properly employed, that they're earning something for themselves. Some of them have struggled by themselves and have gotten to a stage where now frustration sets in because they have pushed and done all the education they can do. They have all the degrees they can have, and yet they're still by themselves and they're not earning anything. It pushes the youth to do all kinds of things. So we as a people need to make sure that unemployment is brought to the barest minimum. People can earn a decent living. And maybe when we do that, we will see less of the robberies that we're seeing today.
Let's wrap with a few more stories. The Daily Guide newspaper, businessman defends Mreku Duka. There's also, I didn't win 2020 election. That's according to former President Mahama, at least as couched by the story. It's on page 3. There's also Nana opens Tamale interchange today. Exciting news for that interchange. When you open into page 3, ex-Maslog boss still missing. And that's where I'd like to pick your thoughts, Liz. Now, the whereabouts of former Chief Executive Officer of Microfinance and Small Loan Center, that is Maslog, Sedina Ationu Tamaklo, who is standing trial for causing over 93 million Ghana cedis worth of financial loss to the state, remains unknown as the prosecution takes steps to hold her sureties accountable. The Office of the Attorney General has filed an application for extriction of the sureties who executed the accused person's bail bond when she first appeared before the court. The extriction of the bond on the sureties would mean that they will have to make available the 5 million Ghana cedis or the properties used as justification for the execution of the bail bond. And that's to put it, succinctly, the thrust of the story. As far as the story is concerned, I would just want it to come to some logical conclusion. We often talk about people stealing petty things. Recently, I think someone stole several, bunches of plantain or something and was given a hefty sentence. And you can't blame the judges. It has to do with our penal code. But for people who are accused of causing financial loss to the state, you would want some conclusivity on matters, and if they deserve to be reprimanded, so be it. But in this instance, it appears the long arms of the law simply cannot reach Sedina Tamaklo. What's your take on this briefly?
The long arms of the law have ensured that she has sureties. So if the sureties can't get her to appear in court, then they have to take it full square, because they put themselves out and trusted that they would make sure that she was in court anytime she was called. So if she's not there and they've stood surety for her, definitely if they have to pay or whatever they have to do, I think that the long arm of the law knows exactly what it has to do. And so it should go ahead. I don't think that she's lost. I believe that she probably has some problems and is probably out of the country. But again, I think that we should be able to work well together as a people, not think that because she belongs to another party and she was in that position, something untoward has been done. She's deemed to be innocent until proven guilty.
Indeed, that is our law. But with such people, I don't know. There's always the flight risk or travel risk with such people, which is why sometimes their passports are confiscated or whatever the case may be. If someone has caused financial loss to the state to a huge, to the tune of, millions of cedis, what actions were taken? Was her passport still available to her and all of that? Could we have prevented this? That's the whole point.
Well, I think she traveled out for medical attention, I believe, if I remember what I read properly.
Right.
So probably that she was given that leniency, and everybody believed that she would abide by whatever agreement they came to. But if she's not back, I don't have the details as to what has happened to her. But definitely, like you're saying, anybody who has been found to cause financial loss must be made to face the rigors of the law. That is without any question. Everybody who takes our money and misuses our money has to face the consequences. Right. So definitely the courts need to carry out whatever they have to carry out. And if she's tried in absentia or whatever they choose to do, if she's found guilty, I believe she still has assets in this nation. I believe she still has a bank account and things like that. I'm sure the law knows what it has to do. I'm sure the Attorney General has an idea of exactly what the outcome will be if she's found guilty.
The final newspaper this morning says Cocobot warns of possible fertilizer shortage over Russia-Ukraine war, and we know why, because Russia, with its mass deposits of petroleum products, also one of the derivatives is phosphate and all of that. They are the major, I think, the second biggest producer in the world behind Canada. So that is going to affect us. But again, as I always say, Nigeria, Dangote has just opened one of those fertilizer production plants. In Ghana, I guess everything must be a problem. There must arise a problem. It's said that problems bring solutions. But for us, we know the problems exist, but it must come to a head before we decide, oh, we must do something. We don't have these plants here, and likely we're going to have to now go to Nigeria. Not to say it's wrong. I mean, it's all part of the after bit. It's all part of the economic integration. But if we can do for ourselves, we shouldn't, leave it for someone to do for us. There's also...
necessity is the mother of invention.
Exactly. There's also 4.1 million metric ton increase projected from production of 11 major crops in 2022, but access to and rising cost of inputs a threat. That's according to the Agric Minister. And there's also Nigeria versus Ghana preview. Black Stars need Pate Kudus, others to turn up. Afenajan as well. What would be your expectation and maybe your prediction ahead of today's clash in Abuja? Black Stars of Ghana, Super Eagles of Nigeria, as we wrap.
I'm not a football fanatic, but once Black Stars is playing, I'm supporting Black Stars.
Do you have a scoreline in mind?
None whatsoever.
I got you there.
I don't even know who the players are.
Well,
I've just heard recently about Partey and everybody talking about Partey, but who he is, what he does on the field, I have no idea. I know Jordan Ayew and the day Ayew, and that's about all I know about soccer.
Well, I'll tell you this: Thomas Partey plays for Arsenal in the English Premiership, and he's a midfielder. He's one of our midfielders. He's the vice captain as well. So just a few details about Thomas.
Who is the captain?
The captain is Andre Dede Ayew.
Okay. I wish them well.
Thank you. Well, thank you on their behalf. That's great to hear. Liz, thank you for joining us this morning as we've dug
Thank you for having me.
Sure. And a very colorful dress, though. I forgot to mention that. Very colorful outfit.
Thank you.
Yeah, I love it. I love it.
Right now, I do only made in Ghana stuff.
I see.
So this is GTP.
Interesting. Kudos to you. Keep it up.
Thank you.
Okay, so that has been our interaction with media consultant Liz Hayfran-Asari as we've dug into the papers. Today, just as we did the other day on the 25th, it's match day 2, if you like. So on the last leg of the show, we'll bring you sports there as we get into the major matters and even cross over to Nigeria. But coming up next after this, we'll be digging into our big stories. We're talking about the reopening of our land borders, and we're talking about the likely increase in transport fares, among a pot of other issues. All of that up next on the AM show. Stay. Well, we get into our big stories this morning as we contemplate the lifting of COVID-19 restrictions, and especially topical in the reopening of borders, and of course what Mr. President said as well in respect of face masks. And then we'll tie in what Frontiers Healthcare Services has also been doing. There's the allegation by Member of Parliament for North Tongu, Okujetua Blakwa, that the entity has raked in over 900 million Ghana cedis. The president says yes, they used, they came and they basically set up on their own. But is there justification, if these figures turn out to be true, about how much has been amassed within what space of time? Just about 2 years, thereabouts. So what do we do with some of these issues? Of course, the testing regime continues for those who will have to go through testing processes. We dilate on these matters and also talk about fuel price increments, on the back of which transport unions have said, we're going to up the ante again. We're going to increase transport fares by 20%. What will this mean for all of us? Joining us for the discussion, Professor John Gachi. He is Dean, School of Business at the University of Cape Coast. We also have Richard Amankwa, Deputy General Secretary with the GPRTU. Samson Asaki Awingobit is Executive Secretary, Importers and Exporters Association of Ghana. And we'll be roving on these matters as well later on the show. But let me start with you, Professor John Gachi. I would like to find out from you, yes, from the economic standpoint, the measure to reopen borders and all of that, but what was your general appreciation of the address on Sunday as Mr. President spoke? What were the highlights for you?
Well, I think the president just spoke what people were expecting for a very long time.
Oh, and Prof, if I may, I think this is only, I've not even said good morning to all of you. A very good morning to all of you. I'm so eager to jump into the conversation. Good morning to you,
good
Prof.
Morning.
Good morning to Richard. Good morning to Samson.
Good morning. Good morning to you, to yourself.
Good morning.
Great. So, Prof, do continue.
Yeah, I think he just did what people have been expecting for a very long time. You recall that the border closures in 2020 brought untold hardship.
Right.
One will also say that our people within the border enclave were discriminated against heavily. They were not given access to those freebies that were given. Various people complained, but that did not yield anything. Some of these people who cross the border on a daily basis before they get their daily bread, perhaps now that have been restored to them. Because government is also doing this because of the economic crisis we are in. Even though I do agree that with the closure of the borders, people still cross the border to undertake their business transactions. But the revenues that should come to the government perhaps have gone into private pockets of people who are to man the borders. These have been reported severally. So with the reopening of the borders, one will expect that much more revenue that was going through the private pocket will now come to government pockets and then resume economic activities for our people within the border enclave. But we shouldn't gloss over the huge discrimination that they suffered throughout this period.
Right, so those will be your initial comments. I'll come back to the economics of things, but let me also come to Samson Asaki Awingobit. For you, I had interacted with you earlier in the week, and you had shared some concerns. And here we are. You've heard now the address by Mr. President. Is it refreshing for you? Does it add anything to or does it ease in any way, alleviate the plight of your importers and exporters now that the land borders have been reopened and with some of the measures at the airport? Is it any help to you?
Well, thank you very much. Let me say a very big good morning to my colleagues and especially Professor Gachi and the gentleman speaking from the Transport Union and your good self and your listeners. I strongly believe that as Professor Gachi have just said, many Ghanaians who were getting their livelihood through these borders and with the COVID-19 for the past 2 to 3 years now has actually hit them very hard. And they've lost, many of them lost their economic activities. And then, of course, as he said, those who were risking their life were passing with, having with a means that they were passing through by going to the border levels and then bringing their cargo or whatever through unapproved way, and those were asked to man the area where one way or the other getting their funding or getting the monies from them, but it wasn't hitting the government chest. And that wasn't the best way. As we speak, I think that now that they open it completely, lawfully one can cross to do business in Togo and cross to do business in Ghana without any fear or any restrictions or hesitation. For me, we strongly believe that it's going to help Ghana, and of course, the kind of revenue that was lost during that period, Ghana will be able to recoup it. We only hope that, as the president said, that measures we're going to put in place, they should also put a third eye who will look at those people who are going to put the measures, implement the measures that the government intends to do at the border level, and so that we don't get complaints from the very poor business people, men and women who will be crossing the border to do their legitimate activities and come back to the country. On that note, I will say that it's good, it's better late than never, but I'm sure going forward, there are other policies that were stated in the finance minister policy statement that I have different views, and I don't know whether if you heard me speaking on some of the things,
right?
And if you want to discuss that, I can continue.
We shall get into those eventually. For now, I just wanted us to take a look at the address from some of these topical angles. Let me come now to Richard Amankwa, Deputy General Secretary with the GPRTU. For you, what is your quick reaction on the back of what we heard, the address on Sunday? And indeed, how do you feel this is going to impact your work, even before we get into the economic situation and the talk about transport fares and all of that? I'd like to hear from you. What do you make of the easing of restrictions and all that? What is your take? Do we have Richard Amankwa?
Yeah.
Right. Did you get the question?
Oh, please come again.
Richard, so I'm simply asking that on the back of the president's address on Sunday, what is your quick reaction to some of the measures to relax, the COVID-19 protocols and all of that, and the reopening of land borders? What is your quick take?
Oh, it's a welcome news for us because most of our branches, which operates on the borderlines, like Elubo, Sampa, Afrao, they were continuously complaining that the closure of the boundaries has affected their work. So most of them find it difficult to meet their internal expenses. So when we heard this, it was a welcome news for us, so that our branches can operate as they're supposed to be.
For you, Prof, so coming to some of the economic matters, the bread and butter issues, the land borders have been reopened, and we all know the impacts this has had. There's been rejoicing in areas like Paga, Elubo, Aflao. On the back of the reopening of the borders, this is something, like you rightly said, that had been called for time and again. Even before we get into that, do you feel it took us too long to reopen our land borders? It's been about 2 years. Other countries had already eased restrictions as far as their borders were concerned. Did we take too long? And what do you feel the economic impact has been if we did?
Yeah, I think we took too long a time to do this because when COVID started, we didn't know how to handle, but we were told that there is something called protocols that we need to observe. And if we are able to use our nose masks, if we are able to distance ourselves from people, if we ensure that we don't shake people, we are good to go. Therefore, all that is needed is to invest in some PPEs and some facilities to ensure that the protocols are adhered to at the border crossing. I believe we refuse to do that, thinking that people will be massing into our country with the disease. And I believe that took us a very long time to take the decision we are taking today. So So I think that really affected economic activities across the borders. We should also appreciate the fact that people from Paga, Elubu, Paga, and then the northern part of the country who share border with Burkina Faso, for example, and part of the Volta region and Oti that share border with Togo. It will interest you to know that people have their farm across the countries because of the family relations. All these people were not going to farm, or if they want to go to farm, they go through a lot of difficulties, and that could have also affected their commitment to food production and then their generation of their own income. So I think that the decision has actually delayed, but as one of our panelists said, it is better late than never. So we will take it like that and believe that economic activities will resume. Yes, it is true that government has also suffered the pain of the economic situation associated with the closure of the borders. As I indicated earlier on, it was even reported by some of your colleagues who did underground investigation and realized that those who cross the borders, they are forced to pay unauthorized fees to border agents and other associates of these border agents, and all those monies were lost to the state. So government also lost some revenue. That's what I said, that it is not merely because we think that we have overcome COVID-19, that is why we are opening the borders. Government believe that the reopening of the borders will allow for economic activities to ensure revenue mobilization across the borders. That is one key thing that drove government to make this decision at this crucial time. So we all suffered the economic pain, but unfortunately we cannot restore some of the economic delusion that our people were subjected to. As I indicated, no help was given to them at the border crossing. Right now that they are going to resume, some of them will need some small support in terms of capital to resume their businesses. Where would they get that at this crucial time? So it's not merely about opening of the borders, but also what we want to do to encourage the people to engage in economic activities to bring the revenue to government and for the people to sustain their livelihood and that of their families.
Okay, so two quick things. One on the back of what you just said, and it has been said that even as the borders have been reopened, things have been very slow, which is to be expected. But one thing to take stock of is the fact that while we have reopened our borders with three major countries, Togo, Burkina Faso, and the Ivory Coast, they have not reopened their end of their borders with us. So that in itself means that it's not all hip hip hooray for trade in these border entities. The other one has to do with the last point you made in terms of how these people, after having been out of business for about 2 years, are going to get themselves back onto the scene. What would your proposal be? What should government be doing at around this time to maybe encourage people to get back into business? Is it soft loans? What is it? We shouldn't forget, and I'm sure you're fully aware, the policy rate has gone up. So taking money from the banks now is going to be much more difficult. Your take on these two matters?
Well, I believe you heard me talking about discrimination. Whether it was intentional or unintentional, there was discrimination. You give monies to people to support their businesses, but the border enclave to a large extent were left out. You supported people with food, the border enclave were left out completely. So I believe this is their turn, that government should look out to them and support them, because it's at a point in time, generating revenue and sustaining people's livelihood must be investment from the state. So if you support them with what they should start with their business, you will support their business, they will then continue in a sustainable manner, support in contribution to revenue. So government should see it as investing in generating revenue by supporting these people in a manner that will help them regain their economic effort. So we shouldn't relate that to policy rate. Even in the policy rate regime, we know that people go to Exim Bank and they get facilities ranging from 0% to 5% thereabout, with moratorium to repay. Those people are also engaging in economic activities. And we all do agree that cumulative effect of small businesses, especially as we find across the borders, contribute more than all that we see from the huge businesses that are dotted across the country. So government should nurture small businesses, but in this particular case, I believe it is a duty that government must execute in the interest of business owners or those who are engaged in business activities within the border enclaves. That, I believe, is very important for government to do. And I also want to add that if you talk to market women in Makola, which I have done severally, we have family members who work in Makola, and we know how much money that cross the borders on daily basis, on weekly basis. That is huge, and you cannot imagine it. So I believe government should see it that this effort is going to revamp economic activities, and it involves huge movement of capital, and some already have, some don't have. Something should be done so that the overall essence of opening the borders will inure to the benefit of the country.
Very quickly, I just wanted you to add the bit about the other countries, the Ivory Coast, Burkina Faso, and Togo. They have not reopened our borders with us. What does that mean for us?
Well, I believe we need some information from government to be able to comment on that, because I'll be surprised that we will be opening our borders and we don't talk to our colleagues to do same. I will be surprised that we want to open the borders and then we have not been able to talk to ECOWAS Secretariat to see what to do to make it a uniform decision across the various borders in the region. So having not received that information that was done, it is difficult for me to go into that. But it could also be a strategy that if we have opened ours, that may in one way or the other put pressure on other countries to see reason to open their borders.
Richard Amankwa, I just want to find out from you, do you have some of your members plying these routes? Do you have some of your members going through the border areas we speak of, Elubo, Aplao, and all of that? Do you have some of them using these routes, plying these routes, Paga among others?
Oh, yes. We have most of our branches on the borderline. As I said earlier, we have like Elubo, Aplao, Stampa, Domahinko, and the rest. So all of them, they work in hand with the other country. So as my brother was saying, it will enhance our business, and those who are trying their work will start moving up.
But what reports have you got so far? We're getting information that the other countries have not yet reopened their borders to us. Are your drivers able to get into the Ivory Coast, for example, into the border crossing at Togo, at Aplao, and others? Are there any such reports?
Yeah, no, not yet. You know, DPS, we have structures. We have the regions and the branches. So whenever there's a problem or there's a case, they will report to the region.
Right.
And if the region couldn't solve it, is there then that they will pass it to the National Secretariat. So we have structured our union such a way that they can do their own business, and whenever it's beyond them, that's how they will report to us. But as of now, we've not received any report that they are not operating.
But let me come back to you, Richard. So on the back of the announcement made by the finance minister, we know that 15 pesos will be taken off the price build-up when it comes to, or the price, ex-pump price, in terms of what people get at the fuel pumps. We've heard from some entities, the chambers when it comes to petroleum consumption, who have said...
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Is that Samson?
Yes, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. So maybe, Richard, just hold your horses. I was about to ask you about the 15 peso decrement and the whole plan moving forward, but just hold your horses there. Samson, so I just wanted to briefly know, what is your take on the back of the finance minister's presentation last week? What are your takeaways? What does it mean to you? What don't you like about what was said? Do share with us.
Thank you very much. What I didn't like about what he said was his 15 peso per liter.
Right.
I think this was you remember I said that the finance minister is trying to manage Ghana alike. It is an enterprise, but he has forgotten that he finds himself in the public office. And so whatever policy that he's going to do, he should have to think about the ordinary. Because it is the ordinary who wake up early dawn, go and climb trees, to be in queues, to register for voter education, voters ID card, to go and queue and vote. And so when you make policies that it is only the elite who enjoy more than the ordinary, then you don't know what.
So my estimation is that Samson's connection is not the best. Maybe we'll see whether we can get him via phone to share some of his thoughts so we can have a free-flowing, seamless conversation. But let me come back to you, Richard. That very matter he was talking about, Richard Amankwa, 15 pesos off a price build-up of about 5 cedis over the space of a few months. And 15 pesos being taken off. There has been talk by some of those in the sector that as much as 1 cedi will be taken off, or 80 pesos. But for now, we know of 15 pesos, and even that starts from April the 1st. So I put the question to you. What does 15 pesos mean for you? Was that enough to cushion you?
Oh, it's not enough. What I can say is that it's insignificant because we can work with it. As you all know, the ex-pump price has been increased daily. So when we met the sector minister, that was on the 1st February 2020 this year, whilst we are negotiating on the price increase, we were proposing for 30%, and we were giving 15%. Even at that meeting, we were pushing for 20%, such that we cannot increase it whenever the ex-pump price goes up. But the minister and the stakeholders clearly established that we should maintain the 15%. So whenever the fuel prices goes up above 10%, we should add another percentage to the transport fare. So we agree on that. And it was clearly established in the communique we issued that we are monitoring the ex-pump price. So whenever it goes up, we will not hesitate to increase our price. So we made them aware. And on the 17th of this month, when the prices start going up, we wrote to the sector minister that upon our monitoring, we have seen that the fuel price has been increased. And by the time we were giving 15%, the liter price was 11.80.
Right.
Now, the fuel, as of now, it is 11.18.
Right.
So we did our calculation and sent to him that we need to increase it. And since we sent the letter to them on the 17th, we have not heard anything from them.
They have not responded at all
Yes,
to you?
They have not done that. They have not responded.
Right.
So what we are doing is that we will have a management meeting. So after the management meeting, we know what to tell our members and the drivers, the percentage we want to increase it. Because as I said, it has been clearly shown. And the stakeholders, all the stakeholders they are aware that the prices has gone up. So we don't have anything to do. The 15% cannot do anything. It cannot wash away the percentage we are demanding for.
Richard, how much would have been satisfactory for you? How much would have been satisfactory? 1 CD, will that work? 2 CDs?
Oh, last year, November, all the system transport, we had press conference at Teko Odo.
Right.
And what we are demanding for is 1 CD, 34%.
Right.
So we are expecting that at least we go beyond even about more. We are expecting that either it will be 1/3 to test or even half of what we were demanding for.
So you're basically saying that even if they were to give you 60 or 70 pesos, it would be fine?
Yeah, that's why we can say it can do something. But as we speak, the 15%, there's nothing we can do. 15%. There's nothing we can do with it. We cannot. It will not show anything on the drawing board. So as per our calculations, that 15% will not do anything. So we are demanding for what we have planned for.
So 1 CD 34 pesos from last year, that was the demand you were making, but now the prices have shot up. So are you still pegging it at 1 CD 34 pesos, or are you hoping for more? In other words, though even you're saying 60 or 70 pesos would suffice, are you going to push for, let's say, more than 1 CD 34 pesos, and then if they cut it down, if they slash it, you will accept whatever they give you?
Yeah, that was our expectation. We were thinking that it will not go beyond that. But look at the one they just gave to us, 15 pesos per liter. We are not expecting that. So it came as a surprise to us. Because if the fuel liter price is 11 to 18 pesos, and we are reducing it, and you reduce it by 15 pesos. My brother, how can we work with this?
Are you considering, Mr. Mankwa, are you considering what impact this has on the ordinary Ghanaian who will be using your vehicles? I know last year, instead of even adding to the fares, you decided to go on strike. But it's only recently that you added a percentage, quite a huge bit, and that led to some suffering for ordinary Ghanaians. Here you are again saying you want to top up, you want to add on. Don't you feel Ghanaians are feeling the pinch too much?
Yes, my brother. Increasing the fares is not our wish. We don't want that.
Right.
Because last year, 2021, we were giving 13% increase in the transport fares. Meanwhile, workers were giving only 4%. So when you consider all these things, it will not be prudent for us to increase our fares.
Right.
Because whenever we increase it, our turnover comes down. So we were pleading with the government to reduce scrap some of the tax so that the fuel price will come down. Because by increasing the fare, it will affect our business.
Right.
A person who's supposed to travel twice a week will go once in a week. Moreover, they will organize themselves and give their money to one person to travel all the way from Sudan to Accra and do the shopping. You see that the bus will be on scale. And the booths will be full, and the passengers are not coming.
Right.
So we consider all those factors before we increase our fares. But as the situation is, there's nothing we can do. The only option is to increase the fares.
Right. Does that mean that where you've got to, if you don't increase, you'll be out of business? It'll put you out of business?
Oh, we will not be out of business, but the business will come down. It will come down drastically. So we don't want our business to come down, as you said. So while we were pleading, we were looking for reduction rather than increasing the fares.
Okay. Hold it for me, Mr. Amankwa. Let me go back to Samson Asaki Awengo bit. Samson, can you hear me? Mr. Awengo bit, can you hear me? Hello, Mr. Awengo bit?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. I just wanted to be sure. Sure. Let's go back to the submission you were making on the 15 peso decrement, because that also impacts your importers and exporters. How do you react to that situation? You've been listening to Richard Amankwa. What's your take?
Extremely well. I was just trying to tell you that that policy that the finance minister did was just enrich the richest the more, not the poorest. Because if 50 pesos would only go in lieu to benefit companies and organizations who buy more liters of the fuel. So, for instance, if a mining company is consuming 1 million liters a year, 1 million liters times 15 pesos is huge savings for the company. But a tractor driver, a Okada driver, which I told you last time that whether we like or not, they've come to say, I continue to pick passengers and continue to charge. And now that even the transport unions are even rooting for another increment, it tells you that if you are going to take Okada tomorrow and tomorrow next, after this will increase, it's going to go further high. Again, as well as those who clear goods from the port. If you are going to the market now and you see prices of goods being high, assuming the transport owners increase their fares today, it means it's going to also have a repercussion on an increment of prices of goods in the market, because you are paying huge money to transport the same cargo to the market for the final consumer to come and buy. I was thinking that the finance minister was going to cut down drastically, as the gentleman said. Or in any case, I was thinking that the finance minister was going to, if you reduce the petroleum product prices drastically, then cement product will come down. Then iron rod product will come down. The price of these goods are for ordinary Ghanaians. And ordinary Ghanaians who have a piece of land would want to buy cement and put up a single room, decent room and live. Which cement price continues to go high? Which iron rod price continues to go high? And I was thinking that prior to the finance minister policy statement, he had that iron rod per ton moved from 6,000 to 8,000. We were thinking that he was going to make any statement that will cushion the plight of Ghanaians. But I didn't hear that from him. Again, you heard that he said we were going to introduce policy called no duty, no exit at the port. That is also another way of policy that I didn't like it at all. Because I said elsewhere that maybe the finance minister wasn't properly advised, or ill-advised, or the tanker people at custom had advised that, look, even when the vessel is coming to your country, and the vessel is carrying, when I say vessel, I mean the ship. Well, if the ship is coming to your country, and that ship is having cargo, including dangerous cargo. When I say dangerous cargo, exactly what happened at our brothers and sisters at Apeti, or what's the town name, some few weeks ago when we had that casualty. It can easily explode. No port authority would like to keep dangerous cargo within the port. So even in the ship, when the ship is sailing to your country, within the ship, they segmented a particular space to keep only dangerous cargo. As soon as the ship bed in your country, when they discharge those containers, that's why in Ghana here we have a dedicated terminal called TBT that receives all dangerous cargo, be it alcoholic, be it chemicals to produce paint and stuff like that, or mining chemicals. We discard them from the MPS, then take them straight to the outside terminal. So if there's any explosion, assuming without admitting that it happened that there's explosion, it will not strike down our port. And you and I know how much we spent in building the Terminal 3, $1.some billion. So we cannot afford to keep dangerous cargo to say that because of a policy called no duty, no exit, then we'll burn one day wake up and the port is burned. Quite apart from that, the DPHA used taxpayers' money to put up 3 dedicated terminals. One of the terminals is the reefer container, which if the ship bed at MPS, all Ghanaian importers who bring in the frozen food, chicken and fish in containers. All right, my brother, are you hearing me?
I'm listening to you.
Would those containers, if as soon as they discharge at MPS, will leave to the DPHA reefer container terminal with electrical plugs that will keep a temperature at a certain level. Then the owner will come to pay their duty and then pick it from there.
Okay.
They have those who import Bruno Wow, that's the first people at Kantamanto, right? Those who bring in spare parts at Obosokai, and those who bring in cars, and including those, you, myself, Dr. Professor Gachi and Richard, we've both traveled to maybe China or Germany. I bought my cargo, my goods, you bought your goods, but you alone goods or I alone goods cannot fill a container. So the 4 of us come together take a higher container and they package our goods into it. So it becomes what we call a groupage. All those cargo, when they get to MPS and they decide the container, they are supposed to put a dedicated container terminal, which is called collectively. That is where we clear phones, spare parts, cars that have no legs to walk, and even if they open a container and you have cars, you have to take them because GPH has a contract with a Safebond terminal, the car park. Then they'll move them from collectively and take it to that place.
Right.
So if you come out with a policy like this and said no duty, no exit, point is all these categories of cargo that ought not to stay within MPS. Where are they going to go? And the employees of these places, the CBT, the Golden Jubilee employees, the QPH air containers employees, and even transit cargo are not supposed to stay in the MPS. QPH has also spent another money, put up a very dedicated cargo terminal in this country. And so all those cargo, as soon as they landed at MPS will discharge them, box them together, and then inform GPH. GPH will send their MAFI. MAFI means some dedicated trucks that the GPH invested money in it. We'll go and pick those containers and send it there. Now, if the container is leaving MPS, we have what we call get in, get out.
So just for the sake of time, Mr. Awingobit, I'd like you to wrap on this. But essentially, what you're saying is that on the back of the fuel price decrements and some of these things that were absent from the finance minister's presentation, for you, the importers and exporters, is going to be a very tricky situation. The cost of importing and exporting is still going to be very high, and that cost will have to be passed on to consumers. Is that what you're saying?
Of course, yes. You remember I said that before he came to deliver the economic policy statement, you remember he spoke with me and I said, I have not looked at government saying they are going to pump $2 billion into the system. That was not going to keep us for long. You remember?
Right.
I said there was a need for government through Minister of Finance to liaise with the Governor of Bank of Ghana to give permit to the commercial banks to import in their own forest. Even though with that, the banks themselves would even know how many of my customers travel to China regularly. So that if they give me the permit, I don't need to even bring for $1. I can only bring China yen. So that if my customers want to go to China, instead of getting $1 to go and convert it to China yen, we bring it yen.
Yes.
China yen, Chinese yen, to give to our customers. And so these were measures I was looking. The other aspect was cutting down government petroleum coupon for 50%. You remember him, the minister said that.
Right.
I was thinking that the minister was going to say, okay, look, from now all government DA that was allocated to government appointees, ministers, deputy ministers, and other appointees, we are going to park maybe at Parliament or they are going to take them to the old castle. If you are a minister, you are going for a trek. Trek here is you are going to Takoradi, you are going to Ahafo, you are going to Bono, you are going to Upper East, you are going to North East, you are going to Oti, you are going to Savannah.
Right.
Then you booked to the chief of staff office or you put in the application to the chief of staff office, they allocate that vehicle to you, then you go. When you come, the driver send it back to the pool.
So those are more cost-saving measures.
Minister living within the rich area, the cantonment and stuff like that, or if they go on others, if you are going to your office or if you are come to Tema to even commission official duties, use saloon cars. Then you follow the cut yourself. Again, the 30% cut off of government pay appointees salary or whatever to go to the consolidated account. I don't subscribe to that. Consolidated account, what are you going to use it? For what purpose? We are here some years ago. Former President Mahama appointees said they were cutting their salary of 10%.
Right.
They were going to use it for cheap compounds. So the ministers come back and tell that 30% cut off salary to your consolidated account.
So you want something specific they are going to channel it into. You want to know that these 30%, the heads of state-owned enterprises, for example, when the 30% is taken, is going to go specifically into this project. You want to know that?
Exactly.
Right.
Specifically, maybe it's going to go and help the Ajanawawa one, or it's going to help build other. Look, let me tell you, I've been driving on motorway.
And just make this your final point, so we can proceed.
I've been driving on motorway every day to Accra to attend to media and meetings. Do you know the Ashaba overhead? After the overhead at the one ending going to the general hospital,
right.
The one at the Ajoko Joe Johnson. We see every day how people are crossing the road. I don't know if you have observed that Ajoko Joe Bridge. Cars has been kept on knocking down people because people are crossing from the last street to the Ajokojo area to go to Asama. People are crossing from the Asama area to go to the Ajokojo area. Why can't you, this 30% will be dedicated to put what you call, is it a bridge to cross that area? to save life on the motorway.
Okay. All right. So let's continue the conversation with Professor John Gachi, who now joins us on the phone lines. And Prof, if we're talking about the land borders being reopened, that is one end of the economic conversation. But now we're also talking about 15 peso decrement when it comes to the fuel prices. The two gentlemen we've interacted with, Mr. Amankwa of the GPRTU, Deputy General Secretary, and Samson Asaki Awingobit of the Importers and Exporters Association, say it does not suffice. And there's also talk about the broader measures to shore up our economy. I hear you're still with us via Zoom. What is your take on this? Let's start with the 15 peso decrease in the prices of fuel products. Does that suffice for you? And what more could we have done?
Well, actually, on the face,
it appears we have a bit of a connection issue with Professor John Gachi, who is Dean of the Business School at the University of Cape Coast. We'll try to reconnect with him so we can get his take on those two matters. So coming to you, Mr. Amankwa, when are you expecting for some conversation to happen between you and the relevant ministry agencies and all, so that you can reconsider your transport fares? Because you can't just get up and increase it on your own. So what is the way forward in terms of an upward adjustment? All right, so we'll try to reconnect with Professor John Gachi, who is Dean Business School at the University of Cape Coast, Richard Amankwa, who is Deputy General Secretary at the GPRTU, and Samson Asaki Awingobit, who is head of the Importers and Exporters Association. All of them have been sharing their thoughts on the most recent measures from the financial statement, as well as the President's 28th address on the back of COVID-19. One thing is clear. There is a lot more work to be done. Professor John Gachi, thank you for reconnecting with us via the phone lines. I was just saying that the reopening of the land borders, yes, to aid our economy. But on the other hand, we have the 15 peso decrease for fuel prices. Was that enough? And what more could government have done?
Well, definitely it's not enough. If people look at the cumulative increase in fuel prices, they do not think that this is a true reflection of what should be given to pushing consumers.
Right.
But I think we need to understand this from the orientation of government. Orientation of government is that they need revenue so badly that they are not ready to feed off revenue. Because it is easy at this time to generate more revenue from the oil pricing process by government. So all that government is saying that, please, I'm not interested in feeding off my revenue conduit. I will just give you something, 15%. And the government is also believing that the measures taken to ensure stable exchange rate regime will, with time, change the direction of fuel prices in the country. As to whether that is the best for us, we wait to see. When
I was just about to ask whether you had that belief as well, that would happen, because there are no guarantees, are there?
There are no serious guarantees. I think it will depend on how deep fuel prices, food oil prices internationally will go down, and how stable depreciation or the currency will be with time. That I cannot assure. But the point is, if you link this with the threat by GPRTU to increase fuel price, lorry price, I believe GPRTU to also explain few things to us. Our understanding is that even though they need to respond if there is change in fuel prices, and that actually have significant effect on their business. But it seems to me they have been working within a certain convention. And that convention is that if fuel prices are increased cumulatively by 10%, then that should trigger a change in lorry fare.
Exactly. And we're talking of even more than 10% in this instance. On the back of the changes in fuel prices, they have been complaining. And at this point, we're looking at even more than 10%. Richard Amankwa, just for you to confirm for us, the build-up within the last window, it's more than 10%, right? I believe we've lost Richard Amankwa, but I do know it's more than 10%. So in this instance, yes, it's been triggered, Prof. And they will have to make some adjustments.
When that is actually projected, then we, the consumers, can be on the side of GPRTU. But it seems to us that is not what they're discussing. They are just talking about the 15% reduction. So they should let us know whether we have crossed the 15% build up, for which they should trigger another round of increase in lorry fare.
And it is logical what you say, because we increased fares not too long ago. But per my reading, as far as the GPRTU is concerned, yes, we have done more than 10%. You would recall that the prices were very different as of the last time they even embarked on their industrial action and said they were not going to, shuttle people to and fro. And back then, we're looking at something around 7 CDs thereabouts. Within a short space of time, we're looking at around 11 CDs. So obviously, the increment has been huge. And here we are. They are saying they're going to adjust it by about 20% if need be. But is the GPRTU, are they being insensitive, do you think?
No, I don't think they are insensitive. They are just responding to whatever is been going on.
And Prof, I asked that question on the back of the fact that I put a question to Mr. Amankwa of the GPRTU that, look, would it break the bank? Would you be out of business if you don't increase by some of these percentages? And he's saying that, no, we would not be out of business, but it would really shrink our capital and things would not exactly be the best. So I guess there's a room for some massaging of the figures. And they are willing to take less if need be.
Well, that is just the gesture they are doing for the massive economic difficulties across board in the country. But their decision to increase fares when it crossed the threshold is actually not about being insensitive.
Maybe to wrap on this specific beat, for you, from your standpoint, what other measures would you have wanted to see as the finance minister, put forward these remedies, if you like, to boost our economy? What other things do you feel we could have done that were not done, that you did not hear from the presentation of the finance minister?
Well, even what has been done, some of them shouldn't have been done. So I think it's important we also talk about that.
Right. Like which ones?
Yeah. You see, we are pumping $2 billion cumulatively dollars into the system, and we have been told that will be borrowed. Okay. That is the first thing, meaning that one side of the equation will be increased, and at the same time, policy rate has gone up.
Right.
In the environment where even the record from the financial sector indicates that about 80% of the portfolio held by financial institutions went to government and not the private sector. Now that the policy rate has gone up, of course, in response to the development in the country, it means access to credit at a cheaper cost to the private sector is even elusive. Then, on the back of that, we were told that the cash reserve has gone up to 12% from 10%.
Right.
Now, pre-pandemic cash reserve was 10%. And when the pandemic broke, it was reduced to 8%, with the aim of freeing money for the bank to give to the private sector to work. Now, if we assume that the pandemic is controlled somehow, I believe it should have come to the original level of 10%. Now it has gone to 12%. What it means is that you are limiting the ability or the capacity of the commercial banks to get access to their own mobilization or deposits to turn out to facilities for the private sector. When already it is very clear, government is the one taking a chunk of the funds that the commercial banks are turning out. And I believe that is counterproductive and makes the situation bizarre. Bizarre because one would say that part of the mobilization of deposits includes foreign currency. So is it the one that is going to give us the 2 billion, or we are actually going to borrow?
Right.
This is something that Bank of Ghana should clarify so that we know that the deposit that you are withholding is not that you are going to send into the system and we claim that we have borrowed.
Right.
That is very, very crucial.
Right.
Because the Bank of Ghana is not paying any interest on those money being held. And if indeed Bank of Ghana is going to use that money to turn around, then there is a question that the Bank of Ghana needs to clarify for all of us.
Prof, it would have been interesting to go further into even more detail on some of the measures that you speak of. Very interesting, but we're going to have to call it a conversation here. Thank you so much, Professor Gachi, for joining us this morning, giving us your time. And that is Professor John Gachi, Dean, School of Business at the UCC. We've also had for this conversation Richard Amankwa, Deputy General Secretary of the GPRTU, and Samson Asaki Awingobit of the Importers and Exporters Association. Let's come to you on the street. We're going to the 37 station, the Trotro station there, the bus terminal, and we're going to find out how ordinary Ghanaians are reacting to this perceived or thought of or planned 20% increase in transport fares. My colleague Papani Ashali is there.
Driver here, and this is his motto. Chief, what's your name?
My name is Eric Ansan.
Eric Ansan. Okay, so Eric, how's the business going for you? I mean, looking at it since January, how's the business going for you?
Oh, the business right now, first the business they move fine, but right now the business moves slow because of the fuel.
So on a day, tell me, how much are you buying? How much of fuel are you buying?
Oh, first in a day now they buy petrol, I buy 30. By this trip, I buy petrol like 50 Ghana, 60 Ghana. Serious. Which is too, it's not good for me because first, like it's good for me, but right now there are things makers, so I'm so stranded and I'm so tired.
So say for a short distance, so this is 37, this is 37. If you take me from 37 say to Circle, how much are you going to be charging me?
First like 10 cedis, but right now as they increase the fare is 15 cedis.
So you to pick me from here to Circle 15 Ghana cedis. Wow, that's expensive.
Yeah, because of the fuel. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, for the people who come and patronize your services, what have they been telling you when you give them the price? What do they tell you?
The people today be complaining about the price. He say it's too expensive. But me too, I've been telling them that it's not my fault because of the petrol. If the petrol is down, me too, I'll let everything be down.
Okay, great. Whilst you are waiting to take your passenger to his destination, last week we had government come through with an announcement that you are going to see at least a 15 pesos reduction at the pumps. Is this something that how do you react to that particular announcement of 15 pesos reduction in fuel prices?
The fuel, when Nana came, you have to reduce everything fast. That's the way you said it. Like if you reduce everything for everything to make fine for us. Right now, if you check about where the toll and the that place all have make free, so you have to look and do something better for you. That is why it's my problem.
But the 15 pesos that was announced, was it okay? How do you react to that?
Oh, that one there is not good for us.
How much do you want?
Like we say, if we want the thing to come down cross so that it will make like something like 20 pesos, so that we all enjoy ourselves. You see.
You want fuel prices to be 20 pesos?
Yeah, so that it will come down cross so that we all will enjoy it.
Thank you very much, Eric. So that's Eric here. He is an Okada rider, a motorbike rider. What he does is commercially at the moment. It's a rush hour here, and you can imagine the thoughts in the minds of some of these drivers and even passengers. Fuel prices gone up, the dollar has also gone up. As a result, some spare parts have also gone up. And definitely, who is going to be bearing the brunt of all these challenges? The drivers, who will in turn also challenge it down to some of their passengers here. So from us here at 37, we'll try and see if some of the drivers who are stuck in traffic will speak to us. Chief, the job, how do they go?
We are managing.
You are managing?
Yeah, we are managing. Okay.
So the 50% reduction, is it okay for you?
The 15% is not okay. 15% per liter is not okay. I don't see any, you don't see any difference in that as compared to what we are buying now. And the 15% is not okay.
When you increase fares, what was the reaction of some of the passengers?
Most of them were complaining because the fares were high. It was too high for them to pay. And now the system is also difficult. The money is not there. So people were complaining about it. Many complained. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So that's one truck driver, commercial bus driver, who says that it's been difficult for him, definitely. And 15% is not much. Bossman, last week, 15% reduction at the pumps. That was announced by government. How did you take that news?
Masa 50% in the Masa Mwaya Kete Klasi. Oman Tunkran can fast also. Masa.
So say how much did you want?
At least 30-40 kura. Okay, come on. Because we can me 5 for no. Me to 250 now they upon. This year 450.
Thank you very much. So just before he took leave of us, he was telling us that before he used to buy about 250 Ghana cedis. That was just enough to do some work for the day. But now he has to buy way more than that, close to twice that amount of money. We'll try to interact with some more drivers here at 37 on how they are suffering from that. So, I mean, Bossman, 50 pesos in the economy.
Masa, yehunso, yewu, yewu. Yes, 300 namitrono, 300 akratu. Menyehi, yesle, mutisomae. Na baby, I do need annuarding, yesle, yesle. Because of that, I'm to me macrum. I'm to soon to fair so.
It is an open to first move your manner.
Eh, yeah, betum because so fairness say yetum because 300 twice. Made me yejumaso I mean 600. Inti omunti so my yeah betu fair na ye passengers we yejuomu omu bre because of that so omunti min kokurum. Yes we nya yesle omunti so na yeti fair so.
But that's a pass. So Asari there says that he would probably look at a system where they would have to increase fares if something is not done urgently about the cost of fuel. He says he buys about 400 Ghana cedis a day. Bossman, how's the fuel and the business going?
What's he saying?
Fuel, no. You see, at least 15 pesos. Last week, boy, Jumano.
Oh, this is an idea. Tell Matterson idea, do a year, the answer no, it's because. We should be a free bus here. Me free Sakuma no spinters na me ba o me cost cycle. Me 250 Ghana na meet me sanko na masada ko biem. E dis e betima ba fon ma almost omo foka na almost ho tima to omo a e betima boa because say e kosoro a almost omo tip car ni mu so no. Yesu etibi ka say dis car no e ji a almost be hu omo mobo. Because this is the kosoro no fair no so kosoro. Bibia so be ko esoro. E dis omo timi te so dia
What to first? When I say okay, say for customers what to first. Say, Jumane koye.
Nana fair na oma tumuni die. Oma tumuni so no. Any design no plus ni different cra. Because for Sakuma no cost like 65. And it says 5 no say one man. And it says so. Passengers no omuta on foka. Eti ube unya load na ubetimi dia kona. Ubetimi nya sasika no. Eti yaho dia kire yan.
So he says that he's coming all the way from Sakumona, he's going to Circle, and given how much he's spending on fuel alone, even the increment in fuel fares has not been enough to cushion him for what he was expecting. He would have wished that probably either the fuel come down, the price of fuel comes down, or he has to definitely look at increasing fares. Chief, okay, so yeah, he has to move from there. We'll try to find some passengers to interact with on how the increment in fares is also biting hard at their pocket. again. But that's the situation here in 37, interacting some drivers here. And from the reactions we are getting, it's really hard for them. But certainly most difficult for the passengers who have to bear the brunt of all this hardship in the country, especially with the increment in fuel fares. Started the year somewhere 4 cities, 5 cities. Just 3 months down the line, we are doing somewhere close to 10 Ghana cities. Last week, government announced 15% reduction. You heard from the drivers. That is quite paltry and definitely not enough to cushion them against their challenges. So from us here in 37, over to you in the studio, Akakpo.
And that was very insightful, you know, gauging the mood of these drivers and getting their take on these developments. That is how we wrap up the first angle of our conversation. But coming up next, we have the talk about the Black Stars of Ghana. They are in Abuja. They have touched down. But what are they going to be able to deliver later today? We'll find out as we have George Ado Jr., an editor here with Joy Sports, Muftau Nabila Abdullahi also with Joy Sports, and Lai Kingston, a former midfielder with the Black Stars. That conversation comes your way next after the break.
Sellout crowd here in Kumasi greets Ghana and Nigeria, these historic West African rivals going head to head in this decisive playoff tie. Only one of them will make it to the World Cup at the end of this year in Qatar. Jordan Ayew on that left flank, powering forward. Truste Kong coming across to cover. Felix Afena-Gyan in the middle. Ayew's ball in, collected by Uzoho. Their neighbours to the east. Brought down by Isahaku. Comes inside onto his left foot. The shot is blocked. Mohamed Kudus playing in that attacking midfield role in support of Felix Afena-Gyan. It's laid back by him. There's the shot. A thunderous effort from Isahaku. Turned behind by Francis Uzoho. It's the clearest chance we've had yet. Truste Kong finding himself on the right wing, looking for Osimhen in the middle. Well, it was on target. It was not a powerful attempt, but it's forced a save from Wollacott. Ola Aina forward into the path of Aribo, who's made a terrific run into the penalty box. Aribo over the bar. Inacho, ball into the middle. Osimhen threw himself to the ground looking for something. Ahmed Kudus, great footwork from the youngster. Bursts into the box, the shot and goal. Turn behind by Uzoho. Straight-faced, the Ghanaian supporters. It's been an absorbing contest, a really hard-fought affair. Not too many clear chances, though. And all to play for in the second leg in Abuja on Tuesday.
And those were highlights of the last, in fact, I should say, the first encounter at the Babaya Sports Stadium in Kumasi. Today, the second leg of the duel in Abuja takes off. But what can we expect? We'll be joined by team here, George Ado Jr., together with Muftau Nabila Abdullahi, both of them in Nigeria. We'll have Lai Kingston, a former midfielder, an attacking midfielder with the Black Stars. But right here in the studio, Oreku Ampofo joins me. Oreku, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Benjamin.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
Anyway, let's start the ball rolling by finding out from you. How would you assess the performance of the Black Stars? This was just a few days ago. I mean, what we put into it, what Otoado, the coach, had been saying, and what you saw on the pitch. Were we that technical in our approach? And what do you feel the performance was like generally?
I think what everyone can admit to is the fact that we've seen progress in the team. And remember, we're coming from a very disastrous campaign in Cameroon where it was basic fundamental errors in terms of the team shape. We conceded some really cheap goals during the tournament. And so the next level was to give this team a sense of feeling again, and to be able to organize yourself in a structure and know that this is how we want to play going forward. And I think everyone can allude to the fact that we saw that under Otuado in the first game. We could see how the team were planning on building up in the first phase, the second phase, and the third phase. And he even said in the post-match conference about how he asked Baba Idrisu to drop in between the centre-backs to be able to help progress the ball forward. And so that's something new that we've seen in terms of how the team wants to play. And in terms of, my assessment, I think I come from 2 points of views. First one, I was impressed.
You were impressed.
I was really impressed.
Anyone who had watched the team during the last AFCON, it was disastrous. Yeah. It was as though there was no cohesion at all. And at least in this instance, you would see that there was some sort of organization in the team. So from that standpoint, you agree?
Yeah, I think that's the key word, organization. And the fact that you faced arguably or even ranked the third best team in Africa right now in Nigeria, a team that were so fluent and fluid in attack during the Africa Cup of Nations, to be able to limit them to just a couple of shots, dangerous shots, and not really create anything for themselves.
So we stymied them, and it starts from the midfield. Yeah, right? That's where Ndidi wasn't.
Yeah, I think that the absence of Ndidi and all that too also played into it. But I think essentially, Ghana matched Nigeria in all departments. And this is where my disappointment comes in. Because we didn't have a lot of context or an idea of how Otuado would play, playing a goalless draw against this Nigeria team in itself is impressive. But the other side of the coin is that expectations change during games.
Right.
It's the same way if Ghana is going to face Brazil at the moment, Ghana would be underdogs. But the moment the game starts and Brazil get 2 red cards, the odds change.
Right.
Now you don't expect Ghana to lose that game anymore.
Exactly.
So
the odds changed at a point.
Exactly.
But we couldn't capitalize.
Yeah, because after the game, Lukman said that the atmosphere that they saw at the Barbera Sports Stadium is something that he's never seen in his career before. And this is someone who's played in England and played in the top leagues.
These people, in spite of all their experience, found this a bit intimidating, and we couldn't capitalize on it.
This was record sales in terms of Baba Yara. We've never seen this before, when it comes to ticket sales and all that. So the atmosphere was set. Nigeria were faced. Ghana started really well and created some opportunities. And this is why I think maybe a little more push, a little more risk taken in the game, Ghana could have got the goal. That's where my little disappointment comes in. But I think in the bigger picture, not conceding an away goal is really crucial, especially when you look at the dynamic of the tie, because now any score draw in Abuja would be enough to see Ghana go to Qatar.
Let's go over the virtual terrain now and interact with George Ado Jr. and Muftau Nabila Abdullahi. Both of them are in Nigeria. I'll start with you, George Ado. What has the mood been like since you've been in Nigeria? I'm sure you've been catching up, interacting with some of the people there and the sports community. What has it been like? What are Nigerians saying, thinking, anticipating ahead of this crunch duel?
Good enough. I think they have the quality. They have what it takes to beat the Black Stars in Abuja. So right from when we arrived at the airport, all those were meeting as we're talking about it, the Ghanaians are here. It was easy to point out that Ghanaian party was in town because of the airline we used. It has red, gold, green colors. And at the airport, immigration officers and co were all telling us, we're going to beat you by 3 goals to 0. We're going to beat you by 2 goals to 0. Allow us to qualify to the World Cup. This is it. We are still brothers. So I think that generally the mood in camp and for all those around here is the feeling that they can beat the Black Stars. We also got to the stadium, let me say about 12 o'clock, about 2 o'clock or 4 o'clock Nigeria time, where we had an idea then as well, at least from our colleague journalists who are in Nigeria. They kept saying, yeah, we know that Ghana is a very good team, but we think we can get the results. The head coach, Augustin Guavo, and Simon Moses, who were there at the press conference, toned down a bit and just said they have to go on the pitch and get the job done. But if you watch television, from television that we watch, from the radio we listen to, and everything that has gone on here, it's just pointing to that thing. Nigerians are very, very confident that their team is good enough and can get the result they need to make it to the World Cup.
What have you seen of the Nigerian team since you've been there? I know you've been with the Ghanaian team, but what have you seen or heard of the Nigerian team as they have prepared ahead of this duel?
Yeah, I use heard because yesterday their training session was behind closed doors. When they were done with the training, they only allowed the Nigerian journalists in to film a bit. So the actual training session was out. We know the press conference that Augustin Guavo had that Samuel Chikwueze and Bonke are, in a short race against fitness, the race against time to be able to be fit for the game. We know that Nigeria will not be overly unchanged. They still don't have a DD. They hope to have a midfield that works, and their target will be to flood the area of the Black Stars, the defensive area of the Black Stars, to try and get the goals. Guavo said, look, Ghana hardly created a chance. I disagree with him on that one anyway. But he says that it's up to them to take their chances when they have them. So, look, we won't see too many differences from the Nigeria we saw. Hopefully, because they are playing in Abuja, they will be praying that they can have a much hungrier team that can score goals.
Right, let me come to Muftau now. And speaking of squads, are there going to be any changes in our squad that we know of for now? Is it the same lineup we're going to have? I think Chere, for example, is better now after the injury he picked. Muftau, what is the latest in terms of what we know? Those who will be playing, representing the gold, green, red, and black of Ghana.
Unfortunately, we're not given the privilege of watching the Black Stars final training session before the contest.
Right.
So it will be pretty difficult to say whether there will be changes to the setup or not. But what I can say is from the press conference that Otto Addo had with the media, where he said that this is a team he's very confident in their abilities. This is a team that he feels can score goals after the Nigerian media raised questions about the Black Stars' abilities to score goals. He said, whether we can score goals or we cannot score goals, that will be seen on Tuesday night. I also think that based on what Otto Addo said, his body language did not suggest that a man who was willing to make so many changes, because he said that the team that the Black Stars lined up against the Super Eagles, he felt the two teams are equal in terms of quality and in terms of their abilities. So he's very confident in what the Black Stars can do. He described it as very hurting if Ghana should score first, because he feels that if the Super Eagles score, it wouldn't be as painful as if the Black Stars score, because you have about 60,000 partisan crowd cheering you on, but that could also be a negative atmosphere for you because you will need to meet the demands of this team. Currently, as we speak, we'll be going to the team hotel pretty soon. That's where we can have a great insight as to what has been happening within the camp of the Black Stars. But for now, we're going to tell so much because we're not giving access to the team's activities.
And speaking of trading, something came up yesterday that was rather interesting. In fact, it's reflected in this post, this tweet by one Hermé, who says, since we were Super Eagles, you guys gave us a ladder to fly down from our airplane. You guys are Black Stars. Shine in the dark. Let's see. NEPA to the wall. And of course, their version of ECG. But basically,
I think that's what I request to one. If they really wanted to pay Ghana back for giving them the ladder that they use, I think they could have done better than giving us intermittent power supplies. We were all at the stadium. If you ask Georgia the Junior, he will tell you, we were all at the stadium on Monday evening, where the power kept going on and off. And even at the airport, when we were at the airport, the power kept going on and off as well until we got to the stadium. I think that the Black Stars were trained within the window created by FIFA and CAF for mandatory training sessions without us having this story to come up because they were given 1 hour to train. They started training at 5 p.m. Ghana time. That is 6 p.m. Nigeria time. And by 7 p.m., they should have finished. So we were actually told that we're going to meet Otto Addo at 7:10 p.m. Nigeria time, which was 6:10 p.m. Ghana time. But Otto Addo showed up for the training for the press conference a little over 6:30 to 6:45 p.m. And around that time, the power outage was so incessant. It kept going on and off. That's why at the German session of the team, you would notice that the NEPA had taken the power. I think if the Black Stars had left the pitch pretty early, this story wouldn't have come up. I'm not sure it is even a big deal. I'm not sure the Football Association will make a big deal out of it because CAF officials had actually even suggested to them that your time was up, but they wanted to stay on the pitch and cheer up, and that's what led us to this point.
For you, George, now we've seen correspondence from the Ministry of Youth and Sports on the back of shoring up, mopping up as many supporters as possible, even trying to get Ghanaians in Nigeria, specifically in Abuja, to be able to participate and support the Black Stars. Is there any new information you can give us on that? I mean, any information that has been shared with you on that? Because we will need the supporters to turn up at the stadium so that, like Oreku said, maybe some even experienced Nigerian teammates were intimidated so that our players, especially the new ones, will not be intimidated. Any news on that?
Let me do it this way. No matter what we do in terms of mobilizing support, we cannot outnumber the Nigerians today. So that's one. And it's probably informed the Ghana High Commission in Nigeria on how they're going to approach this. They said that you have to make your way to the stadium. And once you make your way to the stadium as a Ghanaian, you'll be given a ticket to go in there. You should understand the context of all of this because you know that the Abuja Stadium, I mean the Moshood Abiola Stadium, it's an interesting one with the way the Nigerians see it. And they know that they cannot rely on Abuja to fill the stadium. So there's been an active campaign to ensure that they can even get Nigerians into the stadium to fill it. They may in the end, fill it. But they have been cautiously doing this. It's like, look, there's a directive, from...
Don't forget that today is half a holiday in Nigeria. It's half a holiday.
Yes, that's what I was going to talk about. The directive that says that you're closing, everyone must close at 1 p.m. Then go and support the Super Eagles. So if Rico was working here this morning, he will close at 1 p.m. and leave multimedia and go and support, the Black Stars. See whether the referral of that. And then we know there are buses advantage points to bring people outside of Abuja into Abuja. So it puts Ghana in a very disadvantaged position. All we can do is give the tickets to the guys who are coming. I know that the ministry is organizing a flight here, but I tell you, it will be less than 200 guys who are coming here. Some journalists, some officials, and all of that. So we don't expect a lot. Perhaps maybe 1,000 or 2,000 hiding some kind of singing Ghanaian songs, and then we wait to see how the boys can make today a very special day. Which happens to be the birthday of the president of the land. So it's a holiday in quotes. Hopefully we can get the job done. But a quick one on the power outages. I mean the power cuts. And I really hope that people don't make this look like Nigeria planned this because I've seen some of the commentary that makes it Nigeria did this.
I think people have been joking with it. I don't think people are taking it that seriously. Yeah. Everybody has been joking around it.
Yeah. I hope it stays a joke like we're rivals and so anything that just goes into it for banter anyway. It's a situation that Nigeria would have loved didn't happen, but sometimes it is what it is. And so we had to go through the disco lights and everything. So we won't expect too many Ghanaian supporters in there. Maybe during commentary, I'll allow Mufdal some time to also go and sing because we need a lot of voices.
Right. I noticed you wanted to come in, Mufdal.
Ben, just back after what George was saying, the Nigerian Sports Ministry actually gave out 200 tickets to be given to Nigerian sports journalists so that their families can come to the stadium to support the Super Eagles. That's the media alone. 200 tickets have been dedicated to sports journalists in Nigeria so that they'll give it to their families to come and watch the game. And then there's also the other aspect where they are planning about 200 buses that will be busing spectators or supporters to the stadium to watch the game. So it is pretty a busy day. I'm not sure even if Ghana is able to have like 10,000 supporters inside that stadium, they can make an impact because you're still going to have about 50,000 partisan crowd against the Black Stars. And that is what is going to make it pretty difficult. It could be a plus, it could be a minus. It could be a minus in the sense that when the pressure mounts on the players, especially the Super Eagles, they will struggle to cope. If the Black Stars should score first, they will struggle to cope. But the other aspect of it too is that if it goes in favor of the Black Stars and the Black Stars should score first, and they're able to keep their nerves, the pressure will switch to the Super Eagles. At this point, I'm not sure Ghana is under any pressure. I think it's rather Nigeria who are under pressure and must meet up the demands of about 60,000 people who will be inside the stadium and 160 million plus people who will be watching away from the stadium and on television, and the millions of people worldwide. That's what makes it a pretty heavy contest for the Super Eagles tonight.
All right. Guys, I'll have us get into the players. I'll have us look at the defensive units, the midfield, the striking or attacking units and all of that, and break it down in terms of what we can expect depending on which players play. But before that, let me come into the studio. Oreku, Coach Otoado he's been celebrating the fact that our stars played so well on Friday. And indeed, they excelled beyond our expectation if we had to take what happened in the AFCON as a benchmark. But he has also called for them to be cutthroat, basically to go right for it, go for the jugular in Abuja. Is this something you genuinely feel we can execute on the back of the first performance? Looking at how Nigeria played, even with Ndidi absent, and now with some of, I don't know what reshuffling they're going to do, but do you think we can be that incisive looking at our play in Baba Yara?
I think it's important we don't read too much into the Baba Yara game. I know it was a good performance and you can build confidence from that, but I still believe this Nigeria side are a very strong and quality side, and the best of teams always have day offs, and that could have been inspired by the crowd at Baba Yara. So
intimidating crowd, missing out on one or two players, crucial players, all of that could have played against them.
It could have, and it's important you don't start to believe that, oh, so this is the Nigeria people we're talking about, because the moment that gets into the head of the players, it could be precarious for the national team. I still think Nigeria, a fantastic side, would probably see them play better today in Abuja. And so it's important that we go there thinking that we played well, but then again, Nigeria were not their best. And we should expect a different form of opposition, especially because they're also playing in front of their home crowd. And so it's a different test altogether.
Definitely, complacency must not set in. But the other side of the coin could be that if our boys begin to get that confidence that, it's in Nigeria squad, and you know, that kind of vibe, it could also boost their confidence and make them feel we can actually beat these people. We can do more and you know, just might carry the day. So there could be two effects of that.
I think so too. And it's more or less you having a balance and knowing that these guys are dangerous enough to embarrass us. But then again, they're not as good as they seemed, and so we can also get one against them. And it just speaks to the type of tactical instructions that you want to put out to your players. I think what's important and what's crucial is that Nigeria are playing in front of their fans. They want to start well, they want to be aggressive. And so if I'm Otoado, I'm telling the boys, let's take this game in patches. In the first 20 minutes, let's aim to keep a clean sheet. Once we do that, let's slow down the game. Nigeria would be under pressure. The longer this game goes without any team scoring, the more pressure would be on Nigeria. And pressure is usually not a good thing. Pressure makes you panic. And so once Ghana haven't conceded, they can stay calm. Because remember, Ghana can even afford to concede one goal and just equalize and qualify.
And that is it.
And so really, the threshold is bigger than Ghana think. And so the team has to remain very calm and ensure that they go through that wave of pressure that would come in the start. Because I genuinely believe that if Ghana negotiates its way past the first 30 minutes without really giving anything away, then Nigeria will start to think, oh, wait, maybe they are that good. Yeah. And that's when maybe Ghana could capitalize. So it depends on how this game really starts today.
It depends on how it starts. Let's cross over once more and interact with Papa Ni. And he is actually out there and about. He's also now sampling thoughts of some people on the streets in terms of what we can expect, what their expectations are for the Black Stars. Papa Ni, take it away.
We're speaking to some people you don't ordinarily hear analysis from. What do they make of the previous game we played last Friday with the Nigerians, and what are our chances in today's game? We speak to them. Some of the people you don't ordinarily be from. Bossman, last game, who is saying?
Game the main quarter Ghana the baby bed match. The coach say Fatau Shaku. I main quarter 1 man in the second half. Born I'm share no. Coming quarter. Man ya changes be a bet Fatau Shaku there on yen second half no umbra. But game no, you bet my qualify.
Now first leg no who is saying send one ball no. We say Black Stars mo boni nyina.
First leg there mo ball no, mo ball ni na. Nti ball we nya hu kura ma obi antwe se bia Nigeria bet my share. Because na ball na ya boy no, Ghana ball pa. Ya ball shi mo bet anya hu nti Ghana bet my qualify.
Great. Maybe Chairman Chief oni ne ya adwene say last game ni your ball game pa.
Me da metimi ne nya adwene papa. A kire say match na the share no. Sake bona wia. Ne ka wia force wia ne shin Nigeria for no. Omle ko ball night na ma be yentima nwini. Enti me na de the second Ghana for so nya ward. Solo mutali ntisho go nya sa de ya nyu Ghana for chi biom. O solo ni na wa o ngolo.
So well, he says that he thinks that the time of playing the game probably affected Ghana's chances. The first guy says that Ghana played extremely well, except that we couldn't find the back of the net. He's hoping that this game we will be able to find the back of the net. Bossman, last game, no, who is saying?
Last game, to be frank, you be winning truly because so share last game now, first game now, Ghana you do all, but 11 the goal.
But what do you think about the Friday's match that we played? You think that we didn't do well, or you thought that we could have done better?
Oh, we could have done better.
But what could we have done? What should we have changed formation? Should we have changed a player at a particular time?
We have to change some player.
Like who?
Like Jordan there. Jordan. To me there, he's no player to me.
What exactly did he do that you think that he didn't do well?
Jordan, at times he play well, but at times he don't play well. So the best thing is you should change Jordan and you bring another player.
So what player should we bring in if you are removing Jordan? That's a player some of the Nigerians are afraid of.
Partey too, they are afraid of Partey.
So you should take out Jordan and leave Partey intact. Yeah. Great. I'll come back to your predictions. What do you think that will be? By how many goals we are going to be losing against, or we are going to be scoring this game? Bossman, what do you make of last game? How did it go for us?
The last game, I think say the strikers, they don't play well, so they look sharp. Then when they look sharp, goal will come. So
what was your man of the match?
The man of the match, they're like, what do you call it? Partey.
Not Afenajan?
Nah.
Why Partey?
Oh, because the way he played ball, like I like it.
You also Kudus?
Yeah, Kudus.
Why would you say Kudus was the best man?
He's a left, he's driving, he's give passes, everything is good. Kudus there, I like them. He'll be serious player. He will control the ball, the midfield, his long passes. Charlie, the guy, too much. He's better.
Great. So, whilst we are trying to wrap up today's game, who do you think, maybe give me 5 players you want them to play, just 5, that you think that they should be in it no matter what?
5 players. Yeah. To me, I don't know their lineup, so I cannot predict.
But if you were the coach, who and when would you make them play?
I will let Partey play.
Then who again?
If Dede use Partey, I will let him play. Then I don't know the players. They are new.
They are new. Great. So today's game, by how many goals is Ghana going to be losing or scoring?
To me, we need only 2 goals.
We need only 2 goals.
2 goals.
Do you have an idea who's going to be scoring the goal?
Oh, Partey can score. You can even play hat-trick.
Wow. So it's going to be 2-0. Great. 2-0 against Nigeria. What about you?
Oh, 1-0 or 1-1. Then we qualify. If you play 1-1 from Nigeria, Ghana qualify. So if it can be a 1-1 or Ghana will win 1-0.
Who's going to score that 1 goal that I keep mentioning?
Me. If Kudus can kick free kick and then The goal is the ender in the net.
Basman, so let me ask you, so scoreline.
And that was Michael Ashale. Just to wrap the conversation right before we tell you a little bit about the Tamale interchange. So we still have George Addo Jr., Muftau Nabila. Very briefly, so what lineup are you expecting today and what are your predictions ahead of the match? Let's say in a minute each. I'll start with you, George. Let's start with you, George.
Oh, yeah, I think it's pretty much the same as we've expected, pretty much the same. If Kofichura is giving a shout, we'll see how that goes. I think the man who said Fatau Shahaku could start from second half is not far from wrong as well. That could be part of the plan. But generally, I expect Black Stars team to be more organized in the final third, and we can get some goals from there. I just think that Jordan Ayew must start. The problem with Jordan Ayew often is that we try to judge him on just one thing when he does many things. So I think it's a very balanced one. We're going for a 1-1 draw, which should be my birthday present tomorrow, and one for President Akufo-Addo today.
Okay, so 1-1. Muftau, for you, what's your prediction? Very quickly.
A quick prediction, I think it will be a scoring draw, and that's what's going to see Ghana progress to the next stage of the competition, of the qualifiers, booking a ticket to the FIFA World Cup. In terms of the lineup, I expect Kofichura to come in if he's fully fit, and that will mean that either Fatau or Jordan Ayew is likely to be sacrificed. I'm not sure Otto Addo will be willing to sacrifice Jordan Ayew. If there's going to be someone to be sacrificed in this setup, especially the team that started against the Super Eagles in Kumasi, likely to be Abdul Fatau. There's also a shout for Osman Bukari,
right,
who is likely to be given an opportunity. But we are waiting to see what the decision will be from the technical brains. But I do think this will end in a scoring draw.
Well, thank you so much, George Addo Jr., editor here with Joy Sports, and Muftau Nabila with the Joy Sports team. Thank you so much, and give our team there the very best, definitely. Let me wrap in the studio as well. Your quick prediction, Oreku?
I think I'll go with Muftau. I'm seeing a score draw.
A scoring draw?
Yeah.
So whether it is 0-0, no, definitely not 0-0 because there will be a score. So 1-1, 2-2, 3-3, 4-4, whatever it is, we'll draw.
I'm seeing a 1-1. I think Nigeria will probably take the lead later in the game, and Ghana will equalize very late on
and break their hearts.
That's the most painful one. That's the one that I want.
Oh no, thank you for joining me in the studio. But before we wrap, President Akufo-Addo. Oh, George. George, were you saying something?
Just a quick one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just a quick one before you go. Yeah, I have to acknowledge our sponsors before we go. It's very important. Those who have made sure we're here and why we're going to be bringing commentary to you from the Mushuda Viola Stadium. I have to say thank you to Qatar Airways. They've done so well to bring us here. To KFC, to Airtel Tigo, to Azar Paints. They've been absolutely great. And of course, to 10Bet. They have made sure that we have been able to put together the nice coverage. And Oriku and the men will be on the bridge at 4:30. You want to join us on radio for the commentary at 5 p.m. Commentary comes your way. Plus, there's going to be so much in terms of updates. And as you realize, we bombarded you with a lot of videos. There's definitely more going to come from here. We're going straight to the Ghana High Commission and continue from there and tell you how it's going.
Thank you so much, George. Of course, very important to acknowledge our sponsors. But today, another big thing happening. President Akufo-Addo is expected to commission the Tamale interchange later today, and that is a big one in Tamale. We'll be bringing you some details of that as well in our subsequent bulletins. The interchange will seek to improve trade and regional integration owing to its proximity to neighboring Burkina Faso, but also improve traffic management in Tamale. So more feats that we're achieving year in, year out. Well, for those of you who have joined us this morning, this is where we cap off the conversation, and we wish the Black Stars the very best. No matter your prediction out there, let's keep praying for the Black Stars of Ghana. My name is Benjamin Akakpo. Thank you for joining us on the AM show. Our major bulletins come your way at 10 and at noon. Tomorrow, let's connect again. Great day.